Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That was just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
Oh, man, it's Monday. It's Monday. It was just Friday a second ago, and now it's Monday. That was the man, just gone, just like that. The weekend in the can, and here we are back to another work day, ready to go and ready to jump into it. Good morning, my friends. I hope you're dry wherever you are, although it seems like pretty much everywhere in the state. It is, it's like we're walking in the clouds here out in the out of the Knik Valley or out of the Knik Arm. It's like we're walking in the clouds. Big fog, rain. Just kind of cold and chilly. I had to close my window. I had a window in the studio, and I just crack it open a little bit to get a little fresh air. Had to close it this morning because it was a little cold in here. Anyway, it's summer. Supposedly, I guess I don't want to complain too much because, again, I guess my standby is always the thought that, boy, at least it's not snowing. At least it's not snowing, and that's a good thing, right? I mean, I was looking outside yesterday, and I was looking at all the green on the trees, and I've lived where I've lived now for almost 10 years, and there's a tree that when we first moved in here, there's a tree that was kind of nice to look at. It was and the thing has grown so large in the last 10 years. It's like 4 feet from the house now. And I'm thinking, well, I guess we're going to be doing some trimming with the chainsaw next spring. But it just reminds me how much I love the greenery and the summer. Yes, even with the rain, still better than the white. Still better than all that white stuff for now. So that's good. Today, well, I just thought today we would do, I got some headlines, but I don't know. I'm feeling like I just kind of want to hang out. I don't have any guests lined up, for today. This is kind of that there's a couple during the year, there's a couple doldrum areas where, it's like not quite political season yet, it's a kind of a quiet moment. And so there's not a lot going on. I mean, I could bring on some politicians or whatever to talk about the interim, but I don't know. I decided not to. I just decided not to try and mess with it for the weekend. As I was going into Thursday and Friday, I'm like, I don't want to, I don't know. I want to talk about something different. And so I've got some headlines. I've got some stories. I've got some good news, and we can talk about that. I do have some political headlines and some other stories as well. But for the most part, I just want to hang out with you guys today. And did I say, was it last week or the week before when I said, it's kind of just that I always picture these kinds of shows when I don't have guests and I'm opening up the phone lines and we're just hanging out. I kind of picture it like it's it's the water cooler discussion where you're all hanging around the water cooler at work or the coffee pot at work, or maybe maybe more appropriately, it's all those old photos of the grumpy old men as they sit around the pot-bellied stove at the feed store, and drink coffee and smoke cigars or whatever they're doing. I always got a picture that that's what it is, because we're just hanging out and looking at what the week is going to bring, and we're going to talk about whatever we're going to talk about. So, anyway, gosh, I hope you had a great weekend. I will say that even though the weekend was fast, and maybe it was only comparatively fast compared to the 5-day weekend that I had the week before, but dang, it was fast. It was pretty speedy, pretty darn speedy. But here we are, the 17th of July. I can count the number of nice sunny days we've had on pretty much on one hand. But again, it's not snowing, so that's that. I'll take the rain over the snow at this point. But it sure would be nice to think that somehow, somewhere out there, there's a little bit of Indian summer in there for some of us. Maybe it's going to get a little bit warmer. Maybe it's going to be, so much, the global warming thing, I just don't know. It's been raining solid for 3 days here at the old Radio Ranch. And it's starting to get a little squidgy out there. I just want it to dry up a little bit. Oh, I just want it to dry up a little bit and get ready to go. Somebody in the chat room, Jeremy in the chat room, just said the Farmer's Almanac is saying that it's going to be September and October. It will be very dry. Well, great. It'll also be cold in September. Can we just have a little bit of dryness now? I'm not going to complain too much about it. That's it. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done talking about it for a moment. But anyway, I hope you had a great weekend. I hope you enjoyed yourself and got a chance to spend some time with your family and just hang out and do those things. A couple of quick announcements, just because you guys are the greatest group of listeners in the world, and I really appreciate you. First and foremost, I wanted to announce that we did it. We got enough subscribers on the YouTube channel to push us over the edge. In fact, I think last time I looked, we got a few extra. Yep, 509 subscribers today, which means, and I just got my email this morning. I saw as I checked my email box, congratulations, you've been accepted to the YouTube Partner Program. Also hit a milestone on our Facebook page as well, and we're able to now do some of the same types of things with our Facebook page. So it's I don't know exactly what it means. I'm still working through some of the details, but it means that we're going to be able to do some more fun things on our social media sites, YouTube and Facebook specifically. So that should be fun, and I'm enjoying that. And I wanted to say thank you to the listeners who helped us out and who were part of that. And we'll get all the details on what I haven't even read through the email. I just saw the email this morning about 10 minutes ago, because it came in pretty late this morning. It came in at 2:30 this morning. So I have not read the email yet, but we're going to get into that. So today is just, you and me. It's just you and me. It's a hang session. That sounds like something a teenager would say. We're just going to have a hang session, but that's what it is. We're just going to hang out. We're going to talk about some of the different things that comes to mind for me. We're going to let you open up take open the phone lines and talk about stuff. And we will and we'll see what it looks like. We'll see what happens here as we move forward. First and foremost, I should announce that the phone lines are open at 907-433-3150, 907-433-3150. Special thanks to the folks over there at Satellite West for sponsoring the program. And I do have an announcement that is coming up here in just less than 2 weeks. they've got some new cool stuff that we're going to be talking about that will be available to every man. I mean, it's making satellite available to every man. It's going to be pretty cool stuff. I was on a conference call last week, and can't really talk about it other than to say, dang, it's cool. It's super cool, super excited about it. And we will be talking about it here in the near future. So thank you to Satellite West for bringing it forward and sponsoring the program and doing all that stuff across the state of Alaska. Make sure that you go out to places like Radar Alaska and Lundy Marine Electronics and Communications North and Arctic Fire and Safety and Safe and Sound all over the state. Those are all your local dealers. If it sounds familiar, South Central Radar, Spit. If it sounds familiar, that's your local dealer that's helping to make all this go. All right. We have got, where are we at here? We're about 2.5 minutes from the about two and a half minutes away from the commercial break, and we're ready to run into this. I have one phone call on hold, so let's go take care of the phone call before we go anywhere else. How about that? Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from? What's on your mind for this rainy Monday?
Buenos dias, Michael. How are you doing today?
Good morning. Brady?
Yes, sir. Yeah, just wanting your perspective of what you think about Ukrainians bombing the Crimean Bridge. How do you think about that? How come we're not going to peace and not arming these people and giving them cluster bombs? I just like your opinion, and what do you think about our military that's not even been sworn into office legally? Right now we're under a military coup, and it seems like a lot of people are going along with it. Not myself. I completely despise our military of today. It is no longer like it used to be. The generation of the Vietnam War, the World War II guys, World War I. This military is a complete coup, and we're just going along with it day by day by day. I hate the Ukraine, and I can't wait till Russia destroys it.
Well, I mean, I guess I hadn't really been following up along with what's going on. If they bombed a bridge in Crimea, I guess you could say I'm not going to Crimea River. I don't know. Look, I believe that the aggressors here, you and I have had this conversation in the past. I believe that the aggressors here were Russia, and continue to be Russia. And they continue to be stopped with the support of many of the NATO allies that have been supporting Ukraine. You can, I guess you could be upset about that. I don't think that there's a military coup. But I think that, I think the Ukrainians should be fighting back against any, incursion into their borders, into their sovereign territory. And I know that you and I disagree on that, but, that's just how I see it. Ukraine has done a lot of, done a lot of growing since the Iron Curtain fell. And I think that they deserve to have a chance to be, to be self-reliant and be sovereign and do what they need to do. And the fact that Russia, is concerned about the whole NATO thing and all that other stuff, that's just the way it is. They're the aggressors here. And I don't hate anybody. I don't hate Russia. I don't hate Ukraine. But I guess, whatever's going on is going to continue. That's what it comes down to. The whole thing is a hot mess, I guess, one way or the other. A hot mess. All right. Well, we're up against the break now, and so that takes us to where we need to be. We will return in just a moment. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. We'll return with more, your phone calls, and everything else. We will be back in just a moment.
If you missed the show, you can listen to it on your time with Dukes On Demand. Oh, and it's free. Like America used to be. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
All right. Well, we're in the break, and yeah, that was a heck of a way to start a Monday. Is with Brady first thing. Oh man, I just don't even. I can't even wrap my brain around it. Somebody who thinks Putin is a hero somehow Putin is a hero on this whole deal. I just don't even know. All right, let's go back to some of the comments this morning. Yeah, Jason was the first one to notice that we had hit up over 500 on YouTube. Thank you, Jason, for that. And what's going on with that? The details on the details on that's going to be, we'll get to that here in a minute. Because somebody said, what does it mean? What does that mean? What does that do for you? Greg asks, what do Facebook stars do? That's the new monetization program for Facebook, where if you want to support the show, you can buy Facebook stars, and essentially you add stars to your comment. You can give stars to, it's essentially bits and bytes from Twitch. It's the same kind of concept. It's just a way to basically highlight the show, make some additional, well, I mean, that's what it says right at the beginning. During the show, during the broadcast, you can support the show by sending stars, a digital gift that helps me earn money. It's not required, but blah, 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 blah. So it's just basically a way that they help, that you can add stars to your comments and do all different kinds of stuff. I don't expect it to be, anything earth-shattering. But it was another way to to get things going. Let me go over to where is it? Right here. Congrats, you did it. You've been accepted to the YouTube Partner Program. To earn while growing your community, turn on the monetization feature that includes channel memberships, super thanks, super chats, super stickers, and select YouTube shopping features in YouTube Studio. We're committed to helping you thrive on the platform. Check out these tools. Keep growing your subscribers and views so you can unlock even more features. Beyond that, you're eligible for today, including earning from ads. Beyond what you're eligible for today, including earning from ads and YouTube Premium revenue sharing, which is in the future. Got over 10,000 hours of YouTube videos been watched on the channel. I crushed a lot. The only goal that I didn't crush is the subscriber goal to begin with. I'd already qualified long ago for many of the other things. I've got over 500 videos up with over 12,000 hours viewed or something. It's a pretty significant thing, but we'll see what happens here. We'll see if it means anything. If there's any extra dollars trickling into the show because of that. We'll keep trying. But I appreciate all you guys who did who went the extra mile, who did the extra effort, and did a bunch of that stuff. So thank you for helping out and pushing us forward with that. Maybe they send you a golden microphone, says Rick. I mean, I could take my microphone and go have it gold plated like Rush Limbaugh. It doesn't mean that it's going to sound any better. But we'll see that. Anyway, not our circus, not our monkeys, our cluster bombs, yes. But if I remember correctly, the waffle cone admin opined the use of cluster bombs were a war crime. I can't even keep track of it anymore. I have no control over it. And any interest that I've had in it has been basically kind of just tertiarily from a kind of a historical war standpoint or tactics, right? Following it for that reason alone, not for the politics of it, but for the tactics. Putin is against the New World Order. They have lots of hidden assets. I think if there's any leader that's against the New World Order, I'd be surprised, Putin or otherwise. They're all in it together, and they're all doing it on purpose. That's kind of my mantra these days. Here we go, jumping back in the Michael Duke Show. Okay. It's like a surf party in here. I love this one. This one feels like a surf party. All right. Let's continue ahead. Phone lines are open. 907-433-3150 if you want to sound off. As you just heard earlier, we got talking about Ukraine. Not that I want to talk about Ukraine, but, any topic is kind of fair game here this morning as we cruise through the morning ritual. It's that discussion around the water cooler, and we're just kind of hanging out and talking about things. And I guess I'm giving my hot take on everything here as well. So whatever you want to chat about, now is the time to do it. Whoops. I hate it when I do that. I just accidentally closed a window that I was trying to get to. There we go, right there. All right, so let's talk a little bit about some of the headlines that we got going on around here. First and foremost, that earthquake, though, Saturday night, about 11 p.m. Saturday night, I didn't even feel it. I was sitting right here, 11 p.m. Saturday night, just pounding away and I was off in space on my keyboard, pretending to be a libertarian space cowboy. I was just playing video games at 11 o'clock at night, 10:48 at night on Saturday. The USGS says that the earthquake, 7.2 magnitude earthquake, triggered a brief tsunami advisory, but that advisory was canceled about an hour later. The National Weather Service says the quake occurred at a depth of about 13 miles, and it was felt as widely throughout the Aleutian Islands, the Alaskan Peninsula, the Cook Inlet regions. Social media showed sirens going off in Kodiak, warning of a possible tsunami, but that was pretty quickly squelched, and everybody. But I didn't even feel it. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Sometimes, because this is where I was. This chair is exactly where I was when the 2018 earthquake occurred. And I felt that for sure. That was a hot, terrifying moment. Right? But I didn't even feel a rumble on this one on Saturday night. I don't know what was happening. Maybe you guys can tell me, did you feel it? You can tell me your story and everything else. Did you feel that one? And maybe I should have just checked Facebook, because boy, I tell you what, anything happens, a truck backfires 3 streets down and somebody says, "Did you feel that earthquake?" on Facebook. Especially, that was the funniest thing. After the 2018 earthquake, like, everybody had downloaded the Quake app on their phone. The one that tracked in real time the seismic activity in the area. And they were like, "Did you feel that? Did you feel that?" And all I was seeing on all these Facebook posts were people screenshotting the app with what magnitude the latest little trembler was. But apparently, out of sight, out of mind. Here we are 5 years later, and we're kind of ignoring it now. Or like I said, I didn't even feel it. But I'm glad everybody's okay. And I'm glad that nothing happened. No tsunamis, although the warning was present. That's definitely it. The other big thing that happened on Friday, which I didn't hear about again until this morning because I was, I unplugged from the news over the weekend, was the Shishaladen volcano started erupting on the 11th. There was overflights. The Shishaladen is down on the in the Panhandle. It's part of the it's one of the most active volcanoes in the Aleutian volcanic arc. It began erupting on the 11th, and a Coast Guard plane overflew the crater and saw that there was lava and everything else flowing out of the crater. And then at 1:09 a.m. on Friday, the summit of the mountain exploded and threw an ash cloud 40,000 feet into the air, which then drifted out over the Pacific Ocean. There was a second smaller explosion at 7:10 a.m. on Friday, which again I didn't feel, but it reached about 15,000 feet. The National Weather Service has issued an in-flight weather advisory to drifting ash. And it is, of course, because the volcanic ash can cause a jet engine to, seize up and shut down. That volcano, by the way, for those of you who aren't sure where Shishaladen is 679 miles southwest of Anchorage, near the center of Unimak Island, which is the largest island in the Aleutians. False Pass is on that same island's east side. It only has about 40 people on it, so they were close, but oof, man, imagine the top of that mountain exploding. It is anyway, they got some pictures of it. Big old cone with a large fountain of stuff coming out of the top. So Alaska, it'll kill you. That's all I'm saying. Between the earthquakes and the volcanoes and everything else, it's like a rerun of the movie 2012. That was it, right? Wasn't that the movie 2012 where the whole world ended? It's not quite that bad, but you get my point here. All right, so that's the big weather events that took off: the earthquake and the volcanic eruption. Those are the ones that get your attention. What was the other story that I wanted to talk about? It was the cold weather. It was the I guess I could have started with this because we just were complaining about the wet and the cold and the everything else. Again, I'm not trying to complain. Still better than snow. But the cold, wet weather has caused another problem, this time for the peony farmers. Peonies are a huge business in Alaska. In fact, Alaska has become one of the worldwide hubs for peony growing. That is, and that's only been in the last, 12 years, 15 years that's really come about. Typically, peonies were produced in places like Holland. There was some in New Zealand and Chile. But those, of course, are on the opposite schedule because they're on the opposite side of the equator. But Alaska has become a peony destination. And in fact, down in Homer, obviously, they have the Peony Festival. That's usually right about now. But I know that I spoke to Brad Anderson from the Homer Chamber of Commerce here, a couple weeks ago. And he was talking about they're kind of moving stuff around because of the weather and everything else. Well, it's gotten a little more difficult because this cold and wet weather is causing the peonies. It's not necessarily hurting them, but it's slowing their growth cycle. Typically, and they quote this in the Anchorage Daily News, Tim Rocky with the Alaska Public Media has got an article up about the commercial peony harvest in South Central. And the Alaska Peony Cooperative, which is a group of 6 farms that ship and sell about 50,000 stems per year. They quote Martha Lujewski here as saying, it's cold, it's wet, it's gray, it's miserable. She said their peonies are great, but they're normally blooming. And they got a picture here of her standing in a field with just a bunch of bulbs sticking up 3 to 4 feet tall with no flowers on them. And she said, normally, they would be all blooming right now and being sent out. Traditionally, peonies have been really big for weddings, and the problem is that they are not ready. So they've had to delay. And so they're seeing all that. The only place that peonies seem to be doing really well right now are up in the interior, up in Two Rivers. They're faring far better. Dave Russell and his wife started Boreal Peonies in Two Rivers in 2012. They've become the largest producer in the state. They produce approximately 100,000 stems each year. Basically, he's quoted as saying, we're now basically the only player in the game until New Zealand starts and Chile starts in October. So this year, we've hit the window perfectly. Our flowers are recognizable anywhere. Because of they're big, they're intensely colored, and that's all due to the short, intense spring and summer. And so that's been really nice in Fairbanks compared to most of the other, rest of the state. And so the interior farmers are doing quite well right now. But meanwhile, the rest of them are waiting patiently for these things to bloom so they could start shipping them out. Come on. But isn't it amazing that that Alaska? I want to say it's been only about, well, what is it? When did Mr. Russell start his farm? 2012, right? Is that what he said? Dave Russell, 2012. So it's been just about 11 years. I remember that right before I left Fairbanks, there was just some discussion about how peonies may be a viable crop in the interior. There was a couple different places that people were talking about it, and that they had just been doing some stuff down in the South Central area in like 2007, 2008, something like that. And so here they were 2 or 3 years later looking at the interior. Who would have known that we would have become one of the largest suppliers of peonies in the world in just a few short years? I mean, Alaska became the go-to Alaska for flowers. That's just, your brain just goes, what? Anyway, it's sad that, of course, all that stuff is at the whims of the weather, but we'll see. My wife she just loves peonies. She just loves peonies. So we'll have to see if we'll have to see. I don't know. Maybe somebody can call in and tell me down there in the Homer area when the festival is, what week, because usually it's like a week-long thing or a 10-day thing. Maybe you can tell me if they finally decided to do it, because my wife would like to come down and check out all the peonies. We'll figure it out. Okay, well, we got to go. Phone lines are open, 907-433-3150, 907-433-3150. We will continue our discussions on, well, whatever topic we feel like it. I don't know. What do you want to talk about? I'm just as like to talk about video games and movies and books right now than I am to talk about anything else. I'd love to hear what you have to say, though. Give me a call, 907-433-3150. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio.
Running on 100% pure beard power. Oh, also some coffee. We dip our beard in coffee.
Ha, nice beard.
The Michael Duke Show.
All righty. going on? Hey, Diggs, what's happening? Hey, what's up? I don't know. What's up, G? What's going on? Let me go back through the comments here and see what you guys have been talking about. Greg says, I don't want to get up. Boy, howdy, brother. Do I feel you this morning? I mean, oh, man. I was not loving it. Not loving life this morning when the alarm went off. In fact, I did hit the snooze 3 times this morning. That's how much. Usually I don't go past the first one, sometimes the second one occasionally, but to hit the third one, ooh, man. Your thoughts about Nick Begich running for Congress again? We're going to talk about that here, Cindy, in just a little bit. I'm working my way up to politics this morning, right? Working my way up to politics. Let's see. I don't remember feeling it. The earthquake, Brian says. Nope, I don't know. I slept right through. Like I said, I was sitting right here in this chair, didn't feel a thing. And they're saying that they basically need to dial. Jeremy's saying that they need to dial down the alerts, the tsunami alerts, because Bill's worried about the one time that they do it will be the time when 500 people die on the spit when it's a real deal. You can't keep crying chicken little. That is right. Oh no, I didn't even see this. Rebecca just said the evacuation caused a woman to be run over and killed here in Kodiak. It's been incredibly tragic. Oh man, that's horrible. That's horrible. Chris said we didn't feel the earthquake and slept through the tsunami warning. Wow, that's a little spooky. Oh, man. If you don't like the alerts, just unsubscribe. It's not nice to fool. It's not nice to fool Mother Nature. Terry says she doesn't subscribe because she doesn't want to know. It's like saying, I don't have a smoke detector in my house because fire gives me anxiety. But wait, shouldn't you have a smoke detector in your house? That gives me anxiety. She says she has quake-xiety. I identify with that. Man, for months after the 2018 quake, I would look at my wife and go, did you feel that? Did you feel that? I mean, it was spooky. It was spooky. My whole house was asleep. It was like 8:10 in the morning or whatever. We'd been up the night before. My daughter had come up and she was staying with us while her husband was stationed overseas. And so we'd been up late that night before doing stuff and everything else. And so everybody was still in bed when it happened, except for me. And everything in the studio wanted to come off the wall and kill me. I was worried. I'd look at my what? You feel that? Did you feel that? I mean, it was one of those things, man. Ooh, baby. Multiple peony farmers in the valley. Yeah, no, I love peonies. I think they're beautiful. I have a bunch that grow around my house every year, said Chris, and they come back every year. That's why I told my wife, I said, you should just plant some peonies here around the house. That'd be so beautiful. I just love that. That's the thing about it, Michael. People stop taking those alerts seriously. Then the one time it's serious, then they ignore it because of all the times it got cried wolf. You're exactly right. I mean, that's exactly right? The sky is falling. No, really, the sky is falling. That kind of thing. Terry says she does have smoke detectors, but her anxiety level goes through the roof. I think the whole thing with quakes is that you just can't control it. You can't. I mean, with fires, you can do everything you can to prevent it. With quakes, you can't. There's nothing you can do. It's the powerlessness, right? That's what makes quakes so kind of scary, is that you have no power over them. You can only quake-proof your house so much, et cetera, et cetera. Let's go over to the phones and get the caller's name. We're about to rejoin the radio here in just a minute. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Chris. I'm down in Homer.
Okay, Chris, you hold the line. We're 30 seconds out from rejoining the radio, and then we'll take your call. All right? So don't go anywhere. We're going to be there in just a minute. All right, here we go, my friends. The Michael Duke Show. The sky is falling, one raindrop at a time. Thanks, Greg. That was profound. We should get a tattoo together of that. That's good stuff right there. I love it. All right, here we go. Down in Homer. Chris, down in Homer. We're going to jump in. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. Like it, share, like it, follow. Let's do this thing. Here we go. No, really, here we go.
The Michael Duke Show. Not your daddy. Wait, sorry. Not your daddy? Ooh, not your daddy's talk radio. Whew. I was scared for a second. Thought we were going down. Here's Michael Dukes and the show.
That's me and the show. Good morning. Welcome back to the program. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. It is the Michael Duke Show. We are continuing on right now. We're going to start with some phone calls. I'm going to talk about some of the things they were just talking about in the chat room because one of the complaints is that there's too many tsunami warnings that turn out to be false alarms, and there's a worry that it could be like that Chicken Little situation where the sky is falling, and then one day when the sky actually does fall, or no, maybe that's Cry Wolf. Is that the Cry Wolf thing? Whatever it is, they just stop paying attention to it. And the one time that they really need to pay attention to it, they don't. But let's go over to the phones. Chris is down in Homer, and he wanted to share some thoughts with us this morning. Let's start off over there. Good morning, sir. What's on your mind?
Hey, yeah, I'm down in Homer. It's cold. It's foggy. And I don't know what the deal is with the peony thing. I don't know if they'll have it. But, hey, I just wanted to say that global warming thing, it's really getting bad, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's
the sky falling.
Yeah, it's kind of horrific, isn't it? I mean, all the global warming and the land's drying up and everything else, it's pretty tough. Remember when it was global cooling? And then it started to get hot, so then it was global warming.
Yeah.
And now it's cooling off again. So this is why they've stuck with the whole moniker now of climate change, because the climate changed. I mean, but that's kind of hysterical when you go back and look at it, because it used to be global warming or global cooling, then it was global warming, now it's global climate change, whatever.
Well, their whole strategy is no matter what happens, they can say, see.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Now they can say the climate changed. Well, yeah, of course the climate changed. It's cyclic. That's what happens. Well, but see, we were right. Well, but that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, duh.
Yeah. Duh. Exactly, Chris. Did you even feel the quake on Friday?
No. I was wondering what the tsunami thing on my phone was all about because I didn't feel the quake. We live in Anchor Point, and so I was at home. Yeah, I didn't feel anything.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's like 450 miles east of Homer with a lot of landmass in between. And of course, I'm all the way up 600 miles up in the Cook Inlet there. I didn't feel it, but yeah, apparently people felt the shaking everywhere. And then that tsunami warning going off definitely got some people's attention. Somebody in the chat room just said that in Kodiak, during the evacuation, because they called for the evacuation in Kodiak, a woman was run over and killed during the evacuation, and that's just sad. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry to hear that that's what happened. But yeah, I mean that's the danger, I guess. Of I mean, I know it's better safe than sorry, but at some point you got to be like, maybe we should be a little bit more pinpoint accurate with these things rather than cause a panic. I don't know. I don't live on the coast, and I haven't had to deal with this, but definitely tragic when stuff like that happens. So anyway, well, thank you, Chris, for calling in and letting me know that you don't know anything about the peony thing, but you know about all this other stuff. Thank you for calling in. I appreciate it. 907-433-3150, 907-433-3150. If you would like to sound off, we'd love to hear what you guys have to say. and we'd love to hear what you would like to talk about this morning. Today, no, wait a second. July 21st at 4:30 p.m. is the deadline to submit your opinion to the Alaska State Board of Education regarding biological males playing female sports. Oh, so we just have another, 5 days? 5 days here. By Friday is that right? Did I say that right? Is that the right date? I don't want to step in. It's too bad. Yep. By Friday at 4:30 p.m., you've got to submit your comments to the Alaska State Board of Education regarding the whole point of allowing males to compete in female sports because they identify as a female. Which again, I don't understand the whole thing because the males have they have an advantage. There's a biological advantage there in those things. What are some of the other stories that we're going to cover coming up? I know in the next hour, we're going to get into a discussion about the congressional race. Give you some details on the upcoming congressional race for the U.S. House. We're going to talk about that. We will talk about the new ruling on stalking from the Supreme Court. Everybody seems to be losing their mind over that one. And we'll also talk a little bit about the ferry situation. The ferries are having apparently some severe critical staffing issues. Now, I'd be the first one to admit that I know very little about the ferry systems other than what I've read over the last few years. But even I am scratching my head over some of the problems that are being reported within the ferry system. Like, what is actually going on? But I wanted to finish up this hour with another story that, I mean, talk about leaving you on a down note. Let me just hit you with let me just hit you with this one right here. This one's coming out of Must Read. It's a reprint from Casey Harper is the author out of the Center Square, and it is it's a little frustrating. In the story is quoted Maya McGinnis, who is the president of the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget. We've had her on the program before, and in fact, we should probably invite her back to talk about this because the numbers involved here are so astonishing, I guess is the word that I'm looking for. Astonishing that maybe we need a little bit more of a deeper dive on this. The budget continues to grow, and the deficit continues to grow. So far, the U.S. Treasury reports a $1.4 trillion deficit 9 months into fiscal year 23. We're 9 months into fiscal year 23. 3/4 of the way of the fiscal year, and according to Maya McGinnis, president of the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, we are borrowing an absolutely astonishing $5.1 billion per day is how much the federal government is borrowing to maintain and continue operations. She says if that isn't a sign that we need a wake-up call, maybe it should be the fact that the deficit for this fiscal year is now larger than all of last year's deficit, and there's still 3 months left to go. The CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, released a report earlier this year projecting the national debt projecting that the national debt will be nearly twice as large as the U.S. economy in 30 years. In 3 short decades, at the current rate, the national debt will be twice as large as the U.S. economy. By the end of this year, federal debt held by the public equals 98% of GDP. Debt then rises in relation to GDP, and it surpasses its historical high in 2029 when it reaches 107% and then climbs to 181% by 2053. And they say the deficits will go up as well. I mean, the debt is one thing. The deficits are even worse. Federal spending trends show interest payments on the national debt will soon be the largest expense in the federal government. By 2051, spending on interest will be the single largest line item in the federal budget, surpassing Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and all other mandatory and discretionary spending programs. Now, what are the lawmakers doing? Well, they've raised concerns about the issue, but a dramatic cut in spending to pay down the debt is far from getting any kind of traction. I mean, they talk about it, but do they really ever do anything about it? No. That would be way too. I mean, now would be the time. Again, I keep using the train analogy. You know, the bridge is out. You can look through, you could see the bridge is out. And the appropriate and smart thing to do now would be to throw on the brakes of the train so you don't slide into the ravine. But what are our politicians doing? They're shoveling coal into the box. Oh, this will be spectacular. We can make it. Don't worry about it. I mean, what the? I mean, this is, and this is not just a Biden thing. This is not just a Democrat thing, folks. Somebody in the chat room just talking about Biden wanting to bankrupt the country. This is not just a Democrat thing. This is, stop with the partisan politics. This is a left and right problem. I mean, Trump, George Bush, I mean, all the they've spent more than any other. I mean, this is not a Democrat or a Republican problem. This, my friends, is a politician problem. And because you got left and right in Congress, they're all blithely just moving on like, oh, it'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. This is not a Democrat or Republican problem. This is a politician problem. All right. We got to go. Hour 2 dead ahead. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. I mean, Donna has the point here, and this is what a lot of people forget, that I mean, Bill Clinton was the last fiscal conservative president that we've had in the last, 2-3 decades. That was the last time that the budget was balanced, was under Bill Clinton. Just think about that for a minute. Bill Clinton was the last time that budget was balanced. It's a politician problem. It's not a left versus right problem. It's not a Democrat or Republican or Libertarian or Constitutional or Green Party. It's a politician problem. How will the USA pay their debts back? Or can it happen? Well, it can. I mean, if the U.S. defaults on its debt, there's a whole nother set of issues there. And Donna is probably more qualified to talk about that, the actual, as the dominoes fall. She would be the one to be able to tell us exactly what will happen here. But yeah, I mean, that's the challenge. What happens if we can't pay back the debt? What happens when the debt consumes so much of the party's over at that point. The party is over at that point. Jeannie revealed what most of that was, and then what was this here? And then when Thomas Massie called Trump out on the out-of-control budget, he attacked Thomas Massie for being a fiscal conservative. Yeah, that's the thing. You get people like Massie in there Justin Amash, Massey, Rand Paul. I mean, there's a few fiscal conservatives in both bodies, but that's it. There's just a few. And when they call a spade, they get lambasted by the party. Mitch McConnell was the same way, beating down on some of the senators who were talking about some of the spending and everything else. I mean, that's part of the problem. That's why Hawk says he's supporting Ron DeSantis, a true fiscal conservative. Boy, talk about DeSantis for a minute. I mean, that guy, he should just be running on his record. I don't know why he's trying to out Trump in some of the different things that he's doing. It's kind of weird. I mean, that guy could just run on his record and do well. I mean, his record is pretty phenomenal. But it's anyway, it's a whole thing. The idea that somehow we're going to elect one guy, and that one guy or gal, that one person is somehow going to fix all of the problems that we have is hysterical. I got some got a little water right down the wrong tube there. But the idea that somehow we can, elect a single person to be the president or whatever, and that somehow, some way, they're going to make the changes. I'm not saying that, a presidential figure doesn't have a lot of authority and doesn't have a lot of, doesn't have a lot of sway in what's happening. But to think that we're going to elect one person and that they're going to fix all the problems that are going down is just delusional. This is a problem that has been cooking in the oven for years. And it's going to take a lot of work to turn it back around. If it can even be turned back around, quite honestly. Even if it can be turned. I mean, I've seen several commentators over the last couple of years basically say the same thing that I decided about 4 years ago, which was the wheels are just going to come off the bus because nobody is going to be willing to pull on the brake handle before you go over the cliff. And then we'll have to pick up the pieces on the other side. So yeah, it's a hot mess for sure. Yeah. And like I said, I haven't even been following. Apparently Tucker Carlson did some kind of, was there a debate? Is that what happened this weekend? Was Tucker Carlson? I saw some memes that popped up or something that came up this morning that how many presidential hopes did Tucker end this weekend or something like that. So apparently there was a big debate or something going on. And I don't know. Apparently it was a train wreck. I don't know. You guys tell me. You guys will have to tell me. Educate me on this because I have just not been following along with that. Not at all. Because again, it's not something I can control. And, I just don't even know. I just don't even know what to say at this point. Don't even know what to say. All right. We are 1 minute out. 1 minute out right now from rejoining the radio. It was a town hall and Mike Pence ended his career by something he said, or was he, somebody said is a gotcha moment. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, you get career politicians. Politidic says career politicians are part of the, and I agree because politics was never intended to be a career. It's supposed to be a citizen legislature. That's what it's supposed to be. All right, here we go. The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio.
Whoa, buddy, put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That was just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
Yeah, live around the world on the internet at michaeldukeshow.com, where you'll find links to everything, the audio-only live stream, links to the podcast, available at CastBox, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, SoundCloud, Spotify, and, of course, links to our social media sites where we simulcast the radio show every morning on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. There's all kinds of stuff going on out there, man. All kinds of stuff going on. So welcome to the program, and thank you for coming in and joining us this morning. We appreciate that. That is good stuff. All right. So where are we at this morning? Hour 2 of the big radio broadcast, and we are continuing ahead. Today is just kind of it's a hang, as the kids would say. I don't know whose kids. Probably not my kids, but it's a hang. We're just kind of hanging out, talking about the hot news of the day. We're discussing, whatever stories that come across my electronic transom here. I've got some good news. I've got some good news, and is that what Pence said? We were just talking during the break about apparently there was a town hall this weekend with Tucker Carlson and Mike Pence. Apparently, somebody said, Mike Pence ended his political career. He apparently ended his political career by saying, "America is not my concern." That's what he said. Why would you say that as a presidential candidate? I mean, I don't know here's the thing. You're like, I'm listening to a radio talk show where the guy doesn't even know what's going on. Yeah, I don't know what's happening in the national political scene. I don't keep my finger on that pulse because I don't care. I can't fix it. All I can do is worry about who I'm trying to put in there and hope that they're doing the right thing. But I can't get all spun up and worked up about that kind of stuff because I have no effect. Even as influential as you may think that a radio show host has across the state of Alaska, that somehow, even that, I don't have any power to fix it. And so it's one of those things it's like the serenity prayer, right? Please, Lord, give me the know the things that I can change and the things that I can't change and the wisdom to know the difference kind of thing. I was an angry man about 15 years ago. I was angry all the time. Why? Because I was hip deep in the news every day. I was doing the show. I was doing probably 2 hours of show prep a day of looking at all the big national news and getting down into the weeds on it and doing all this stuff. And, my wife came to me and said, you're angry all the time. The kids are worried. They're always afraid that dad's going to be mad about something, and it bleeds over into all this stuff. And I started doing a little bit of self-analysis. And I realized that I would really get agitated by mostly the stuff that was happening at the national level that I could do nothing about. Now, Does that say I don't? I mean, I said I don't care, but do I really not care? No, I do care. Good God. I do care, but can I control it and should I focus on it? I guess is what I'm saying. And the answer is pretty much no, because those things will eventually come to me. Like I said, I am not 100% sure what happened because I didn't watch the videos or the audio or I didn't listen to it. But within the next couple days, guess what? I will have seen it. I will have heard it. I will know. I don't need to be on the bleeding edge of this stuff, on the edge of my seat, just waiting for the next, blurb or video or download or whatever thing to happen. It will eventually come to me. So I'm focusing on what I can change. I'm focusing on what I can fix, which is why on this program, we focus on state stuff for the most part, right? We're focusing on what's happening in the legislature, what's happening in the different communities. That's what we're focusing on because that's what we can control. Now, there are a few exceptions. I mean, firearms things and things like that. We do kind of focus on the national level at that, but we're also making some headway on some of that stuff. So I'm feeling pretty good about it. But the other stuff, I mean, again, to me, it is delusional to think that somehow, whoever your candidate is for president right now, just tell me how your candidate X, whether it's Trump or DeSantis or Pence or Vivek, whoever it's going to be, whoever your candidate is, tell me how they're going to fix all the problems that are going on out there. Because that's how they treat each and every one of these presidential races. Like somehow this one person is going to fix it all. Well, I'll get in there and I'll make it happen. I'll get in there and I'll do it. I'll fix it. Of course, we know what happens when you get in there. Life happens. Things go on, right? I mean, for Bush, it was 9/11. I mean, he was going to be the whole small, but I mean, George W. Bush grew the size or George Bush, the first one, Bush 1, he grew the size and scope of government larger than he says, and he did the whole no new taxes thing. And then the next thing you know, there's taxes. And then you got Junior coming in, W comes in, and then 9/11 happens, and his expansion of government under 9/11 was tremendous. And then you've got, Trump comes in, and COVID happens, and the expansion of government and the expenditures, and I mean, they spent trillions of dollars over the course of that. Show me how one person is going to be the fix. We've been sold a bill of goods. Somehow it's become a popularity contest on how this one person is somehow going to right the ship that has taken 100 years to get on this trajectory. I just don't know how we're focusing on that all the time these days. Again, this is why I have been focusing on the local stuff, because again, it's stuff you can control. So there you go. I don't know how we got on this rant. This is the water cooler discussion today. That is the this is the water cooler discussion. So whatever you want to talk about is fair game. Phone lines are open at 907-433-3150, 907-433-3150. It is hour 2. I want to say thank you to folks because last week at the end of the week, I put out a call to listeners to help me on my YouTube channel that we were pretty close to being able to hit partner on YouTube. And thanks to you guys, we crushed it. We did some great stuff. And in fact, I got the email this morning at 2:30 this morning. Congratulations. You've been accepted to the YouTube Partner Program. Also hit some milestones on Facebook as well. And now we're part of the YouTube or the Facebook Stars program. So you can go over there and check it out and participate. All just ways to help monetize some things and help support the show. That's really what it was all about. But it was because of you, the listeners who are doing it. Thank you for helping out. I appreciate that. 907-433-3150. I wanted to make sure I put that point out there. Kyle says, you are controlling the Alaska government? No, I'm not controlling the Alaska, but I have more of an opportunity to affect what happens in Alaska rather than what's going on in, say, at the federal level. I feel like maybe I'm kidding myself, but I feel like I have more effect on what's happening in Alaska than I would at the national level. I mean, I guarantee you probably none of the Washington, D.C. staffers have, or Washington, D.C. movers and shakers have their staffers listening to my program to see what I say so they can figure out how to counter it. But I know that that's happening at the state level. So obviously we're doing something. We're doing something to move the needle in that direction. And it will be, it'll be interesting to see what goes on. All right. So what did we talk about? We talked about the peonies. We talked about the earthquake. We talked about the other stuff. We talked about the federal government borrowing $5.1 billion per day. $5.1 billion a day. What we didn't finish up with in the last segment when we were talking about that is basically Medicare, Social Security, highways, all this stuff is going to be facing insolvency in about a decade. The federal government borrowed $2 trillion over the last 12 months. That's $63,000 per second. $63,000 per second. It's delusional to think that our debt doesn't matter when Americans working class and our children are going to be suffering the consequences of those. $63,000 a second. Just think about that for a minute. No, that'd be 60 seconds. So don't think about that for a minute. Think about that for 1 second. Whoop, there you go. 63,000. That costs you some money to think about that. 63. We are borrowing $5.1 billion a day. That's just such a head scratcher. People should be, yeah. All right, coming up next, we're going to talk about the U.S. House race for 2024. I know, it's a year away, but that's quicker than you think, depending on how old you are. If you're my age, next year is like now. It's like time is happening at like this pace today. So if you're thinking about it, that's what we're looking at. All right. So we're going to talk about the U.S. House race. We're also going to talk about the ferry system. And I have, yes, the good news. That's all coming up. And your phone calls, whatever you want to talk about. I'll take some questions out of the chat room as well. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio.
We're broadcasting live through a series of tubes. Well, it's kind of hard to explain. Sorry. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay. All right. Back to the chat room. I am not actually Brian just said, Kyle said, you are controlling the Alaska government? And Brian says, actually, Kyle, it's a cabal of Brad and Michael in conjunction with Big Oil. And then Chris is talking about the Trump thing, and it said he's going to be under indictment for felines. What do cats have to do with it? That's what I want to know, Chris. What do cats have to do with it? If you think Trump is actually going to spend any time in jail, I mean, I'm not saying that he's guilty or not guilty or whatever, but if you think that he would spend any time in jail, I don't know as you've been paying attention to a lot of the things that have happened around the country over the years. John just sent me a text, which I will read right now because it's so classic. So classic. Good morning, Michael. We here at the Alaska Study Industry stand ready to provide guidance to the state of Alaska and its fiscal challenges. A quick analysis of the challenges we face could cost as little as $20 million, and we are ready to study this issue. The Alaska Study Industry. Oh, I owe you an email too. Damn, I'm a bad show host. I forgot I needed to send John an email. All right, there we go. Kyle says, I was unaware that it's a cabal between Michael and Brad and the oil companies. Well, now you know, Kyle. The more you know. The Pence clip on Reddit. I can't click on the Reddit thing because I can't click on links there, but I can just go over to, well, you guys can't hear it anyway, so it doesn't matter. You guys, for some reason, still can't hear my desktop. Mike, Pence, not my concern. Or is that what he said? Mike Pence, not my concern. That's not my concern. That's not my concern. Was what... I don't know if you can hear it. Listen. Boy, Tucker's all over this. Yeah. Wow. That's not my concern. That is your concern. Yeah, that was all right. Okay. Nothing but fuzz, says Terry. You guys couldn't hear a thing. Well, it's all good. It's all good. I just listened to 48 seconds of Tucker ask the question of Mike Pence. And yeah, that pretty much ends your career right there in politics. That's all I could say. But it pretty much ends it right there. It's not my concern. I'm running for president of the United States. We were just talking about being president of the United States, but oh man, what a hot mess. There are just days when I'm just glad that I'm not, I'm just glad that I don't pay attention to that stuff. That's just another reason why I'm just so glad I don't pay attention to that stuff. All right. Here we go. Jumping back into it. No phone calls. Lines are all open. And so feel free to join us and hang out. Thank you for subscribing and ringing the bell. Make sure that you like and share the program today or comment on YouTube or Facebook. Here we go. Okay, welcome back to the show, and thanks for coming in this beautiful Monday. Rainy days and Monday. What's that? What was the thing? Rainy days and Mondays always get me down? No, you can't keep me down. Although, I mean, I could use a little sunshine, just a skosh. Give me just a skosh of sunshine. Is that an actual just a skosh? It's a thing pinch. It's a pinch. All right, welcome back to the program. We're continuing now. It's it's our water cooler discussion day. We're just chit-chatting about whatever comes across the transom, whatever you guys want to talk about. I still have some stories, a couple of them that I mentioned. I want to get to the good news here near the end of the show today. We got some good news because I always like leaving you on an up note. I like leaving you on an up note. And so we're going to do some good news near the end of the segment today, and we'll be happy about that. But first things first, let's talk about the U.S. House race. That there's some news that came out over the weekend or before the weekend, and we're going to see about that. I'm trying to somebody sent me a follow-up comment on the mic during the commercial break. We went out and listened to the Mike. We went out and listened to the Mike Pence piece, but the interview with Tucker Carlson, which was wow. I don't even know if apparently he wasn't thinking when he was answering some of those comments. That's all I'm saying. But let's talk about the U.S. House race. So Nick Begich, who lost to Mary Peltola in last year's race, along with Sarah Palin, said on Thursday that he is all in. He said he's going to run against Peltola again in 2024. Peltola hasn't formally announced a re-election campaign, but has been raising money. So I think she's in as well. He said, and maybe we'll get Nick on later on this week or first part of next week to talk about his run. But he said, I'm excited about the opportunity. I'm out here working hard to earn the votes of Alaskans across the state. Should I have the opportunity to represent Alaska in Congress, I'll be a congressman for all Alaskans. Of course, quoting Congressman Don Young. Interestingly enough, if you look at the post-election analysis of all the ranked choice voting ballots, that if Begich had finished ahead of Palin, he would have actually beaten Peltola. That instead, Palin was the kind of the spoiler on this thing. Half of the voters who picked Begich as their first choice went on to select Peltola or no one as their second option, and Palin failed to earn the vote she needed to pass Peltola. So it's interesting, for those out there that say, well, ranked choice voting it's meant to marginalize conservatives, I think, in many ways, because I think this has to do more with philosophies than anything else. Conservatives are more kind of wildly independent and rugged individualists, and we've talked about that in the past. And liberals, progressives, they have a tendency to be more kumbaya. It takes a village, and they, generally speaking, you don't see a whole lot of progressives running against each other in a lot of these races. Usually there's like one and maybe two, something like that. And so they don't necessarily get into these brawls that a lot of the conservatives do. You'll see 4 or 5 conservatives for a single seat sometimes. This is all prior to ranked choice voting. I mean, we've seen that in the primary where they beat the hell out of each other in the primary, and then the one bloodied winner struggles across the line for the general election. And meanwhile, the progressives and the Democrats have put up one candidate. And that's just how it is. So you could see as how this idea of ranked choice voting is very appealing because it tends to marginalize the more conservative candidates, or it tends to polarize and split the vote on the end, which is, I think, what happened here. Anyway, Begich is back in the race. No word whether Palin is interested in this. I like Sarah Palin as a person, but I just don't think she was that serious. I think Sarah is busy being Sarah. I think Sarah is busy being a public icon or whatever. a public figure, and I don't know if that was just to raise visibility or what was going on, but I just think she was not in it to win it. That's just my feeling. She was not in it to win it. It was convenient at the time. It got some visibility, and I would be truly surprised if she decided to try and throw her hat back in the ring for that House seat after what happened last time. Quite honestly, Begich, though, I think he's got a real shot. Begich, I voted for Begich. I voted for Begich, and then for Palin, and then nobody else. I voted for Chris Bai. Bai, Begich, Palin. Sorry about that. I got confused. I forgot about that. Bai was in because I wanted. So it was Bai, Begich, Palin. I know. I'm the problem here. But the congressional race is going to be the only statewide contest on the ballot, except for any ballot measure that may be there. And there won't be dozens of candidates as it was in the early time to replace Don Young, I don't think. And now Peltola has an established voting record in the House, giving candidates something to run against. And so this will probably be a lot better race than it was in the last time. Now, Josh Walton has been appointed by Begich to be his campaign manager. Josh is a friend of the show. Josh has been he's been working as an aide for Laddie Shaw in Anchorage, but he's now the campaign manager for Nick Begich, and they intend to name some regional campaign chairs and everything else. And so we'll see what happens here. But I think Begich is a decent candidate. He's been on the program 2 or 3 times, and maybe we'll try and get him on, like I said, later this week or first part of next week, and we can see, what the plan is. But I mean, we're a full year out. I mean, this is well ahead of the time. The official sign-up deadline for the candidacy is not until next summer. So who knows? We have almost a full year before the deadline. Who knows who may throw their hat in the ring before this is all over? This may get messy. We just have no idea. But to me, it's good to see that Nick is got his hat back in the ring, and we'll see where it goes from here. Let's put it that way. Then I saw this story, and again, let me just be real clear. I am not. I don't have enough details and enough information in the long run to form a overall picture of what's going on with the Alaska Marine Highway System in Alaska. I've made some comments in the past about, I don't support the idea of fully subsidizing some of these things. I understand that the highways that we have driving back and forth to Anchorage, that those are subsidized to a certain point and everything else. I just don't have a dog in the fight. It's a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. And I would like to get some more information, and maybe over this year here, the next few months, maybe we should bring on some people from both sides of this conversation to be able to have a discussion about it. Because I know sometimes when I make some kind of off-the-cuff comment about the highway system, folks down in the peninsula or down in Kodiak or whatever, I get some hate mail. Not hate mail. They're just angry because I took a position on something that you just don't understand. Well, you're right. I probably don't understand it. I'm just taking my off-the-cuff view of the information that I have at the time. So maybe we should, take a look at that. But this story blows my mind. This story really, really blows my mind because of a couple components. So it's from the Alaska Beacon. James Brooks, again, doing good work. Don't always agree with him, but he's always got his finger on some kind of pulse somewhere. The Alaska Marine Highway System may have to stop some sailings next week, which I think this is from Friday. This is from Friday. So that would be this week. They may have to stop some sailings this week as the state's ferry system hiring woes continue through the peak summer travel season. According to Craig Torga, who is the Ferry Systems Operations Board Director, he said, "We're at risk of shutting the Hubbard down this next week, because we can't get another licensed engineer on board. The Hubbard is scheduled to sail between Haines, Skagway, and Juneau on 6 days between the 16th and the 22nd. This summer, the ferry system is running only 6 of its 9 available ships. Now, 2 are laid up for maintenance, but the Kennecott has been sidelined because there aren't enough trained crew to operate it. Tornga said the only reason we have 6 operating ships is because of the willingness of crews to work over their scheduled breaks. We actually don't have enough for the 6 in reality. The ferry system's hiring woes are a result of a combination of factors, including a global shortage of maritime workers and some problems on the state side. This is where it got real interesting to me. Among the biggest issues is a flawed payroll system, which Tornga said has left some ferry workers' pay delayed. Another member of the Ferry Systems Operations Board, Captain Keith Hilliard, said AMHS as a whole still has some serious payroll issues going on, which is hampering our ability to recruit and keep people. A local union hall of the Marine Engineers Beneficial Association is urging members to not sign up with the ferry system because of those payrolls delays. Wait a second. This is the state of Alaska with 20,000 plus employees, 26,000 state employees. And you're telling me that they have a payroll system that somehow won't generate paychecks? I mean, this is a $5 billion entity, $6 billion entity that somehow we have some kind of problem where they can't issue a paycheck on time? I mean, what? That's insane. That is is the payrolls, and maybe Donna or somebody in the chat room who's more familiar with this can answer it. I mean, does each separate division have its own payroll department and it's not handled by some kind of, you would think with a state with different divisions, there'd be like a main centralized payroll department. Are you telling me that they've each got a different payroll department and somehow the Marine Highway Systems payroll system is just jacked up and they can't issue a paycheck properly? I mean, I have questions. I have questions about this, Again, I may not be the biggest fan of subsidized everything, but you did hire an employee, and there is kind of a contractual obligation to make sure that those employees get paid. And if you're trying to fill positions, it definitely is not going to be attractive if you can't pay them on time. That's nuttier than squirrel poo. Are you kidding me? Payroll is a real problem for us. DOT is trying to stand up payroll for the department, and we can't have it soon enough. It's really hurting us. Wow. In May of 2022, 60% of the ferry system's jobs were vacant. 60%. Wow. They noted that members of the ferry board noted that competition for licensed mariners. They said they're full up on the regular entry level positions, but it's the shortages amongst those that are required to be licensed and certified. They said that the competition for licensed mariners has gotten so intense nationally that even the federal government is now offering extraordinary bonuses and pay for those jobs. The Military Sea Lift Command, a civilian organization, is offering an annual salary of $100,000 a year per able-bodied seaman, plus a $23,000 hiring bonus, which Tornga and company are saying, when they throw bonuses out like that, it's really hard. You think? Here's a 23% bonus for the year just for showing up. The fact that the state of Alaska is having a hard time getting a paycheck out. How many of you are small business owners that have got 2 or 3 or 4 employees? How many of you are large business owners that have 100 employees? How many of your employees would continue to show up if you just didn't pay them on time? Wouldn't that be like a big red flag? And what is going on? I'm curious. I have questions. All right, we got the good news coming up because, the good news. We'll be back with more. Don't go anywhere. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Back with more after this.
Listened to by more staffers in Juneau than any other show, because their bosses told them to. And after what they just heard, oh man, they're going to be pissed.
You're a bad, bad man.
The Michael Duke Show.
All righty then. I mean, I just don't know. Let me see if Donna has made any comments. There is no, okay, so here's what she says. There is no centralized administration in state government. Unions run the ferry system. We propose privatization of the ferry system, and the unions opposed. So is this a state of Alaska problem with the payroll? Or is this a union problem with the payroll? I mean, what's the issue? What's the issue here? Lack of qualified people obviously is driving this whole thing. I mean, the fact that there's a nationwide shortage is one thing, but the fact that they're having a problem with getting paid, according to the email, now Donna's saying there's no centralized administration. Unions run the ferry system. So, but who's paying them? Who is? Yeah, it's the Department of Transportation is paying them, says Donna. I guess I want to know more about what the issue is here. Like I said, maybe we need to bring in some more people who need to talk about all this kind of stuff. Okay. Let's see. Let me go back up here and see what you guys have to say. Something doesn't smell right, says Michael. Brian says, that's shocking. Not wanting to work when you might not get a paycheck? That's weird. I agree. The Marine Highway existence isn't the problem. It's the poor management that makes it cost more than it needs to. I would agree with some of that. Let's see. It's sad how many of you genuinely believe a career-ending gaffe made by Pence means more than his entire career before that gaffe. No interest in his presidency, but he doesn't deserve the hate. He's a traditional Republican done dirty by Trump who shouldn't bother running. Put away the MAGA Kool-Aid. Bill, you're right. I mean, he may come back from that. Other politicians have. Again, I've got no dog in the fight. I'm sure Mike Pence is a nice guy. I don't think that electing one guy over another is going to basically help anything at this point. I mean, because we could see the cliff and nobody's bothering to, nobody's bothering to fix all that. Not one person is going to come in and fix all that stuff. What was the thing? I just saw something about Bill saying something about, oh, come on, y'all, support the show. Support the show. Well, you guys are supporting the show just by being here. I don't know what else you want me to do. Oh, I don't know the thing. I'd rather send him a bonus at the end of the year over giving my account information to Facebook. Oh, was Bill talking about the stars thing? Yeah, you don't have to give stars. It's not a necessary thing. It's just an option. If you feel like doing it, do it. If you don't, then don't. It's no big deal. Don't feel any obligation to do it. The stars thing, I mean, let's face it. We're talking, is it like a penny a star or something is what I receive? If I remember what the thing said on Friday when I signed up for it. I mean, it's not like it's going to make or break what's going on here. It's appreciated, whatever it is. But if you don't want to give your information to Facebook, that's okay too. That's okay. I'm going to set up the super chats on YouTube though. Super chats will allow you to spend money to get your chat highlighted. It's a thing. Maybe we'll have to do an educational video on it. I don't know. But don't feel obligated to do anything. 99 cents. Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's not like it's a whole bunch. It's not like it's a whole bunch of stuff. So it's okay. Did somebody do some stars? I didn't see it if it came across. I don't know why. Maybe it'll be the first time that it's happened. And I guess that would be, let me go back here. Did it show me anything? I don't know. 99 cents because you have to buy 100 stars at a time, I think is what it is. It's 99 cents and Facebook doesn't take much of the money. I mean, I get the lion's share of it. Facebook's actually pretty good about that compared to something like Twitch, where Twitch takes over something like 60% of whatever. You don't get much. But again, you'd have to have thousands of listeners to be able to do that. My dad and Bill sent me stars. Okay, for some reason I didn't see it on my end, which is fine. That's great. I've never done this before, so that's good to know. I'll go back and look at it. Thank you guys for both sending me stars. Thank you, Dad. Thank you, Bill. Interesting though to see. I'm gonna have to figure out how to get those alerts to pop up because I couldn't see it where I was at. All right, here we go. Jumping back into it. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. Okay. Welcome back. Now see, I can see the stars next to the names now if I look at it from we got a new system over on Facebook where there's a thing called stars where you can support the show by doing a little bit of star stuff. Stars. Is that a thing? Is that a thing? Anyway, just looking at the comments now, and now I can see that next to people's names, there's little stars because they've given to the show. And but for some reason, it's not showing up in my main. I have an aggregated feed that pulls all the different feeds together: Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and shows them to me in one unified column. But it's not showing me the little icons, so that's the whole problem there, guys. And I appreciate it. I appreciate those of you who sent me stars. I see Jeremy sent me stars. My dad sent me stars. Jeremy and Bill sent me stars. So thank you guys. I appreciate that. What does this matter to the radio? Nothing. Means nothing. It's just some kind of new little twitch. It's kind of some kind of new little thing that is going to help out. You know? Doesn't matter to me either way. However you want to support the show, you can do it. You can do it on the Common Sense Core. That's the same kind of thing, direct to me. You can do it pretty soon on YouTube. You can do it on Facebook, whatever it is. Or not. You don't have to support anything. You can just sit back and listen for free. Whatever you want to do. But, guys got to diversify. I got to diversify my revenue stream. That's what I'm trying to do. Trying to diversify my revenue stream. Would you rather have Facebook stars or the Common Sense Core? I don't know. And yes, or a super chat from Facebook. The YouTube thing is not set up yet. I just got the email at 2:30 this morning, but yes, you'll be able to do super chats. And man, you guys, I'm just trying to do radio here. The next thing you know, I got a million different windows and everything else going on. You remember when radio was just a guy in a room alone with a microphone and nothing else? I mean, there was barely computers in the room when I first got started in doing talk radio. When this show started, there was the broadcast computer, and there was a little teeny tiny computer off to the side you could pull the weather up on. That was pretty much it. I had to print out my stories and talk about and now you look inside my studio and it looks like the interior of the space shuttle. I got 5 screens in my studio, cameras and lights and bells and whistles. And there's more lighted panels in here than the space shuttle. But that's technology, baby. It's amazing. And I appreciate whatever support you guys want. I mean, whatever. I am I'm just, like I said, just trying to diversify. Just trying to diversify. All right, let's talk about some of the good news. I got some stories, some cool stories that I want to talk about. Science is cool, by the way. Have I said that before? Science is cool. One of the latest things from the Good News Network is a story about turning trash into treasure. Trash into treasure. Imagine if you could turn a material that costs about $100 per ton into one that costs thousands of dollars per pound. Rice University has a group of scientists that have started turning coal into graphene. Now, graphene is a substance that's used in dozens of applications of electronics. And it comes from a mineral called graphite, obviously, which is a carbon alloy type. And it's one of only two forms of naturally occurring carbon. It has metal-like properties and is valuable for uses in conductors, aerospace, medicine, electronics. Global demand for graphene is predicted to top $1 billion at an average price of $67,000 per ton. Now, the people at Rice University, again, discovered that utilizing coal, and a little bit of energy, they could create graphene out of the coal. But then they realized something even bigger, that they could use any carbon source. And they went ahead and tried it. So they have turned the following into graphene: dead cockroaches, coffee grounds, and Girl Scout cookies. They've turned them all into graphene. With this whole technique, they created high-value graphene flakes from a variety of raw materials by hooking them up to a pair of capacitors and electrodes that delivers a 3,000 degree Kelvin shock. According to the experiment lead, Dr. James Tour, a professor of materials and nanotechnology, they pass the current through the trash or coal with enough energy to break every carbon-to-carbon bond in the substance. Therefore, they reorganize themselves as graphene. All the excess energy comes out at light in a very bright flash because there aren't any solvents. It's a super clean process. Graphite mining is got a lot of environmental issues and things like that, but if you can bulk flash graphene by putting trash into it and bulk flashing graphene, problem solved. This is kind of some cool news. I mean, it really is. I mean, that's the beginning of something super cool and nerdy. Speaking of treasure, turning trash into treasure, how about just turning treasure into treasure? A man in Kentucky recently found a buried cache in his backyard. That cache came from right before the Civil War. And inside the cache were nearly 700 coins, all gold, $1, $10, and $20 gold pieces issued by the U.S. Mint between 1840 and 1863. The discovery is being called the Great Kentucky Hoard. It turns out that this is not that surprising. Many wealthy Kentuckians are rumored to have buried large quantities of gold and silver in advance of the Civil War. Basically, they suggested that since these coins were issued federally by the U.S. government, it meant that the original owner might have been wary of being identified as a federal collaborator during the time when Kentucky was still neutral. According to the Numismatic Guarantee Company, which certified the hoard's authenticity, the rarest items are the 1863 P 20-ounce gold Liberty coins. They're $20 gold pieces, which can go for 6 figures each. And there were 18 of them in the hoard. 18 $20 gold pieces, 6 figures each. And there are over 700. They got a picture here of man. It just makes me want to start digging in my backyard with a metal detector. I mean, that is really, that is some cool stuff right there. That is some cool stuff. And finally, if you've listened to the program for any length of time, you know that I'm a bit of a geek, and I love the concept and the idea of 3D printing. I have a 3D printer. I printed stuff on it. Fun stuff like D&D figures, but also useful stuff like hearing earbud cases and hearing protectors and little bips and bobs and things like that. 3D printing is really cool technology. But one thing I've been following is the idea of 3D printed buildings. And we've talked about a couple different ways about this, but now the world's largest 3D printed building has been completed in Florida by Florida-based Printed Farms. It's a luxury horse barn spanning 10,000 square feet, which is they claim is about 50% larger than the previous record holder done in the Middle East. It was built on the Cobod Construction 3D printer, which we don't have time to get into all the details, but it's one of the more common it's one of the more common and not varietal, diverse, I guess, 3D printers out there. The building has been constructed to endure extreme weather challenges of the hurricane-prone, horse-loving region, with a focus on structural integrity and occupant safety. They built the whole thing. They only had to move the printer 5 times to cover this whole area. It's like a quad with all the horse barns and the stalls and everything else. It's 150 feet wide and 150 feet by 83 feet wide. But this is so cool to see these buildings go up it was built in like how many days? Like 6 days? 8 days? 8 days. 8 days to build a 10,000 square foot facility. That's just the 3D printing. Ugh. All right, folks, we're out of time. We'll see you tomorrow for Tuesday, the Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio. Oh man, we got right up to it. I got so into the good news, almost ran right over the end of the show. Dang. All right. It's so cool. It's so cool. So thank you for the stars. How much does Facebook keep? I mean, very little. I get the vast majority of it. I don't remember the actual number, but I'm going to have to figure out how to be able to show stars on my other thing there. So I appreciate you guys doing that. I don't know if I have to turn on some kind of notification. I'll do some Googling of it today to figure it out. Anyway, appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Appreciate you guys coming back in and being part of it. We will see you tomorrow. Enjoy your day. Be kind. Love one another. Live well. See ya. Have a good day.
Goodbye.
We've shed our terrestrial radio skin, and now we are slimy lizard internet people. It's the Michael Duke Show.
Thank you.